out most of the stuff. That was, it's just,
Okay. All right. Are we ready? Once. Okay. All right. And can you hear both of us, Takashi?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. All right, Mass. Well, so just coming back and thank you again. But so in the United States and in our history, we have a moment like World War II and when we did the camps and we seem to have. And we have a history of segregation here, but do you think kind of in the future or even now that there's this fear or xenophobia, I guess is what it's called, where the fear of cultures and certain, like our new president, kind of. Do you think this fear could happen again? Not with the Japanese specifically, but just with any race in the United States?
well, I think it certainly can. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's. I think there's a. I don't know. I guess a layer that any adverse event can peel back and lay open the xenophobia.
Okay.
And so you tend to blame people that you never liked before or had concerns about, and I think that's going to happen. I think that's just human nature.
Right.
And
I think the hard part is, I think they blame the wrong people. I guess what I'm trying to say. So how do you
that
think,
really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need to blame somebody, and you're liable to pick the ones you don't like the most. So I think it says something about Japanese Americans is that they weren't very well. What is the word? Incorporated?
assimilated,
Assimilated, yeah.
into society.
They weren't as well assimilated as they should have been, and
So do you think, it's easier to pick out the cultures that are less assimilated and kind of identify them? Because I think,
what you hear is that Asians are the model minority since they don't make much trouble or something, and all the minorities should be like the Asians. But I don't know. I don't really understand that. Bad guys are bad guys. That's all.
right.
And what the solution is, I really don't know. I think I've been reading about the economic inequalities and the economic inequality. I guess the upper income groups and the lowest income groups, and of course the lowest income groups tend to be blacks and Hispanics, and the solution seems to be, well, we got to do something to raise the level of blacks and Hispanics, because they'll never be able to rise up the economic ladder without assistance. And but working in the technical field for a long time, you always have to ask, is this a cause or is this an effect? And the difference between cause and effect is what? And if you see the inequality in people is an effect rather than a cause, then I guess you're seeing life as the opposite of the person who sees the inequality as an effect, not a cause.
And do you think do you think education would be kind of an equalizer though?
Education is the key,
Right.
and I'm beginning to think the biggest problem is with African Americans, and there's enough African American in the upper crust of of the U.S., especially basketball players, and I think it's incumbent on them to work very hard to uh, bring African Americans up to speed as far as education and I guess after education it'll be economic independence, and because there is independence, there is a economic equality in some parts of the world, like in the Scandinavian countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all have economic equality.
And they
Well, they realize. Luckily, they have a great natural resource. You know, they have oil up in the Netherlands.
well,
that they can rely on.
yeah, that's it.
And good programs.
Well, there's a lot of oil in the U.S. too, but
That's true.
it's
owned by corporations.
it's owned by the top 1% of the
Right.
people,
That's true.
and that's
I guess what you're saying is the biggest xenophobe in the United States, maybe today, is actually the one that exists around wealth. You know, and also, you know, and race does play a part into that. But I guess wealth is the driving factor between almost being able to isolate certain races, and keep them down. I guess versus and there's some things you were saying that cause and effect. There's some things we can do, but there has to be a want as well, is what I'm kind of gathering from you.
yeah. The part that bothers me is that there's some movement, or there's some expression of we're as good as anybody else and we should be treated like that. That's not going to work, because there's always going to be that, I guess xenophobia is the word, that beneath the initial crust, there's going to be an attitude that comes to the surface.
And your family, experienced that at some point. In
Yeah.
history, so.
And whereas, like for me, it was until I was 10 years old, life was the same as everybody else. I didn't feel anything adverse.
Right.
And all of a sudden it changed. And right now it's all just memory.
Yeah. No, it is. It's interesting when you realize everything turns into memory. Well, I think, and that's talk sheet. Do you have any other